Everyone, Alpha Eagle here again. Welcome back to my channel. I pray you're all doing well, and may God bless you all. Before we begin, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Recently, a terrible tragedy has happened. The National Guard was attacked in D.C. Now, as of the time of recording this video, Sarah Beckstrom has died, and Andrew Wolf is in very serious condition. Now, let's pray for Andrew Wolf's recovery and for his and Sarah Beckstrom's families. And the shooter was, surprise, surprise, a Muslim immigrant from Afghanistan. I'm as shocked as Hassan Piker's dog.
I am shocked! Shocked! Well, not that shocked.
It's almost as if there's a pattern with these people who have the Islam ideology. Now, there are several reasons why this happened. The main reason is, of course, that Biden's terrible withdrawal of Afghanistan, in which he allowed these people into our country. Another reason is the incitement of violence that's coming from the left, in which they demonize the Trump administration, ICE, and the National Guard. And that's what we'll be talking about today. In one of my previous videos, I talked about the First Amender and how he failed to debunk one of my videos. And on his live stream, one thing that he brought up is something that the left talked about, and that's stochastic terrorism.
Stochastic terrorism, stochastic terrorist, stochastic terrorism, stochastic terrorism, stochastic terrorism. Joe Pio says, I feel like Amender is getting a paycheck per time he says satanic terrorists, LOL, or whatever term he's using. No, stochastic terrorist. Stochastic terrorist.
They define stochastic terrorism as terrorism that refers to the process where hostile public rhetoric, often amplified through the media, increases the likelihood of ideological motivated violence by individuals acting independently without direct coordination. Now, this concept highlights how certain speech can create a statistical risk of violence against targeted groups or individuals. Stochastic terrorism is not real. It's an imaginary term created by leftists to infringe on people's free speech, specifically to infringe on the speech of straight, white, Christian, conservative males. Now, whenever you hear a leftist accuse someone of stochastic terrorism, they are always attacking straight, white, Christian, conservative males. The left are very authoritarian. They want to control every aspect of your lives, including your speech. Now, that's why they invent terms like stochastic terrorism and hate speech, which is also not real, to prevent simple criticisms of non-white, non-Christian, non-straight, and non-conservative groups. The term was invented by the left fairly recently. According to Wikipedia and Encyclopedia Britannica, the term stochastic terrorism first appeared in the early 2000s, specifically in 2002, in an article by risk analyst Gordon Wu. It was later popularized in the 2010s as attention shifted towards mass communications and their impact on violence. One might say, well, this sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? I mean, you want to stop violence, don't you? Well, the thing is, as I said before, this only goes one way. It's only used to silence straight, white, Christian, conservative males. For example, the left would call bringing up the facts about crime statistics per capita regarding race as stochastic terrorism. If we bring up facts regarding IQ and race, the left would call that stochastic terrorism. If we bring up facts regarding the disproportionate amount of terrorist attacks by followers of Islam, the left would call that stochastic terrorism. If we bring up the fact of the disproportionate amount of homosexuals committing SA, the left would call that stochastic terrorism. If we bring up the fact that most people who run Hollywood is Jewish, the left would call that stochastic terrorism. So, in other words, the left are using this imaginary term that they made up to stop people from stating facts that might make certain groups look bad and hurt their feelings. Because facts are racist, don't you know? Besides, it's completely redundant since we already have laws against incitement to violence. Simply enforce those laws. But that's not enough for leftists since they want to suppress facts that might hurt the feelings of certain groups. Now, to get back to the First Amender, he falsely accused Charlie Kirk of being a stochastic terrorist.
However, this idea that he's like a good person, no, I think he was a stochastic terrorist. He fomented hate. He fomented violence. He made the world a worse place.
Charlie Kirk did none of that. The First Amender accused Charlie Kirk of fomenting violence and hate. I challenge the First Amender to show me a video of Charlie Kirk promoting violence. Please show me Charlie Kirk telling his followers to physically attack any person or specific group. You will never find it because the First Amender lied about Charlie Kirk. He also accused Charlie Kirk of fomenting hate. Now, I also challenge the First Amendment to find any video of Charlie Kirk using a racial slur, a slur against homosexuals or transgender people, a slur against Muslims or Jewish people. He never used any slurs against any of these groups. First Amendment, show me a video of Charlie Kirk saying that he hated any specific group. Show me him telling his followers to hate a specific group. You can't, because the First Amendment lied about Charlie Kirk fomenting hate. When the First Amendment claims that Charlie Kirk fomented hate and violence, what he really means is that Charlie Kirk dared to question things like DEI and affirmative action. That is fomenting hate and violence in the First Amendment's mind. In a normal person's mind, questioning the government's programs is completely normal and not hateful at all. Caused Charlie Kirk's death. People like the First Amendment lied about Charlie Kirk. They falsely claimed that Charlie Kirk fomented hate and violence, specifically against trans people. And then the shooter believed the lies that people like the First Amendment told about Charlie Kirk, and since the shooter has a trans boyfriend, he felt that he had to assassinate Charlie Kirk in order to protect his trans boyfriend. All because the First Amendment and others like him lied about Charlie Kirk. Metaphorically speaking, the First Amendment has Charlie Kirk's blood on his hands. Again, metaphorically speaking. Ironically, the First Amendment hates the First Amendment. He's an atheist, and he hates religion. He doesn't really want free speech, as he pushes these false terms of scholastic terrorism because he wants laws to prevent people like Charlie Kirk from daring to criticize groups of people.
That I think that if you perform stochastic terrorism, I think, yeah, you should see consequence for that. And in fact, most European countries have those rules already put in place. There's a reason why people like Charlie Kirk can't exist in other locations, but did exist in the United States. There's a reason why there's more hatred in the United States than there is in any of these other European nations, or New Zealand, or Canada, or Australia. It's because they censor stuff like that.
See, I told you he hates free speech. He just said that he wants laws to censor people like Charlie Kirk. How can you call yourself First Amender when you clearly support government censorship of people like Charlie Kirk, who only spread the word of God and dared to criticize government programs? He said that he wants laws similar to the ones they have in England that prevents people's free speech. For example, the kind of country the First Amender wants the U.S. to be. Just recently a story from the UK in which a well-known comedian was arrested for simply criticizing trans people. This is exactly what the First Amendment wants. He wants people arrested simply for criticizing trans people. He considers this scholastic terrorism. And the First Amendment also called Trump a scholastic terrorist. Donald Trump was censored from social media simply for exercising his right to free speech.
Yes, because his stochastic terrorism. He was fomenting hatred and lies and then literally caused the January 6th insurrection. That's why he was banned.
Everything the First Amendment said just then is lies. How was Trump fomenting hate? During his January 6th speech, what group of people did Trump claim to hate? Again, I challenge the First Amendment to find a clip of Trump saying that he hates any specific race, religion, sexuality, or entire specific group. You won't find it because it doesn't exist. And what lie did Trump tell? I assume that the First Amender is going to say that Trump lied about the Dems cheating in the 2020 election. That is fact. They did cheat. There is no ID laws in many blue states. That is cheating. Several states changed their voting laws in favor of the Democrats after Hillary Clinton lost in 2016. That is cheating. The mass mailing of mail-in ballots, which has never happened before in all of American history, is cheating. And I don't mean absentee ballots. I mean the unsolicited mass mail-in ballots is cheating. electronic voting is cheating. Paper ballots, day of voting, requiring ID to vote, and counting votes by hand by human beings viewed by other human beings from both parties is the best way to get the most accurate votes. 1. There was no insurrection. Nobody tried to take over the government. There was no leader of that crowd who stated that their goal was to try to take over the government. Again, I challenge the First Amender to find a person who claims to be the leader of that crowd and to find a video of this so-called leader claiming that their goal was to take over the government. And 2, how can you blame Trump for anything even remotely violent at that mostly peaceful protest, when he literally told the crowd to cheer on the senators and congressmen and women and to peacefully and patriotically have their voices heard?
To the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
How can anyone mistake Trump telling the crowd to be peaceful for Trump fomenting violence? If you think that Trump fomented violence by literally telling the crowd to be peaceful, you're not living in reality. Every so-called journalist, politician, or anybody who said that Trump fomented violence by literally telling people to be peaceful is not living in reality. The First Amender is not living in the real world. First Amender, again, I challenge you to answer this question. Did Trump tell the crowd to be peaceful? Yes or no? I only want one word to answer. Either yes or no. Did Trump tell the crowd to be peaceful? If you say yes, you're wrong and he didn't foment violence. If you say no, then you're not living in reality and you need help. The BBC has also been caught lying about what Trump said on January 6th. And Trump threatened to sue them, causing 2 heads of the BBC to resign. Now, have you noticed anything that the 2 people the First Amender has accused of being stochastic terrorists have in common? Anything at all? Both individuals, Charlie Kirk and Trump, are straight, white, Christian, conservative men. Now, would the First Amender accuse anyone of stochastic terrorism who's not straight, white, Christian, conservative men? Now, he claims he would.
There's also the fact that, and I think if there exist people on the left that do stochastic terrorism, I'm in the same boat. Yeah, I agree. We should absolutely censor that, right? Why? So that way we can at least have civil discourse and dialogue and not have to worry about political violence in the future. This is only fomenting more hatred, more desire to hurt one another, and it erodes at our system as we know it. And the sooner we realize that that's what it's doing, the sooner we can fix this system.
Okay, then. I give the First Amender another challenge. I challenge him to call out anyone on the left who is either gay, non-white, non-Christian, non-conservative, or a woman for what he calls stochastic terrorism, whereas I use the correct term of incitement to violence. Now, in recent years, the left has used 2 slogans that have incited violence. Now, one is punch Nazis, and the other is bash the fascists. Now, regardless about how you feel about Nazis or fascists, they both are political movements, and encouraging people to punch or bash them is inciting political violence. Now, also, to people on the left, it doesn't matter if someone is an actual Nazi or fascist to them. They have ruined the meaning of Nazis and fascists. As to them, a Nazi and a fascist is anyone who disagrees with them. So they justify violence against anyone that disagrees with them by demonizing them and labeling them a Nazi or a fascist. So whenever a politician or someone in the media labels someone a Nazi or a fascist, they're giving their followers permission to beat them up or even worse. So whenever someone on the left calls Trump or his followers a Nazi, a fascist, a dictator, or a danger to democracy, they are inciting violence against him and his supporters. Now, this is what caused the death of Charlie Kirk and the 2 assassination attempts on Trump.
The MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Are they going to endanger the planet by not dealing with climate change? Yes. They're going to do all that?
It's a danger. He's a genuine danger to American security.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is.
President Biden has been clear-eyed about the threat that the former president represents to our democracy.
Trump is an existential threat to our democracy.
Do you think Donald Trump is a fascist?
Yes, I do.
Comparing the tactics of Donald Trump to Mussolini and Hitler is a very legitimate thing.
We have a Timo Hitler in the White House right now.
The thing we were all warning about for the last few years is not coming, it is here. We do now live in a country that has an authoritarian leader in charge. We have a consolidating dictatorship in our country.
And what we're seeing play out here is Donald Trump's promise to be a dictator on day one.
Trump has seemingly never met a dictator he doesn't like.
It's some real dictator type stuff.
The American people will have to decide that they are the last in the line of defense against Donald Trump and American fascists.
What is happening right now with this presidential attack on judges?
We live in a fascist dictatorship. That's what's happening right now. That's what it feels like. This is where we are.
You have to call a thing what it is and be definitional about it. The word MAGA doesn't mean anything other than if you go back, it's what fascists used to say.
I've been tweeting for over a year. Daily reminder, today's GOP is no longer a political movement. It is a fascist movement that has embraced white nationalism.
Here's the guy who said, stand back and stand by to the Proud Boys. Look at what he's doing last night, as you know, that more or less salutes that are either QAnon or almost look like Nazism.
So, First Amender, are you going to call out Biden, Hillary, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, severely retarded Tim Walz, and several others for demonizing Trump by calling him an authoritarian, Nazi, fascist dictator, threat to our democracy, thereby inciting violence against him and his supporters? Are you going to call out any of them for scholastic terrorism? Probably not, since they aren't straight, white, Christian, conservative men. Now, speaking of inciting violence, here is what the First Amender said about the left and incitement to violence.
Show me the mainstream Democrat that argues for violence. I couldn't find it. I genuinely want to hear it. Show it to me. Give me an example of left-wingers that argue open violence. I have not found a single authoritative body that has ever said anything of the sort. Never. And I await your response to that. Not a single random person that has got no followers on freaking Twitter, TikTok, whatever. Show me an authoritative body where this says, yes, violence is okay.
Be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives. And unfortunately, there's plenty to go around.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
This is what kicking the out of fascism looks like.
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump, and that's a fact.
When they go low, I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
A Missouri state senator is under investigation by the Secret Service after saying she hopes President Trump is assassinated.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they shouldn't.
I heard Hassan was against it. Destiny was against it. David Pakman was against it. Every single news station was against it.
See what Hassan Piker has to say about political violence.
So insane. America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
We're there to...
Left-wingers, liberals, you need to be fucking showing your opponent's guts on there, okay? You need to be gutting them. You need to be shanking these motherfuckers and letting their intestines just ride on stage. What the fuck is this shit, man? Slice them up. Slice them and fucking dice them.
Yeah, kill them. Kill those motherfuckers and murder those motherfuckers in the street. Let the streets soak in their fucking red capitalist bloods, dude.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott.
Now, First Amender, are you sure you want to use Hasan Piker as an example of the left wing condemning political violence? Now, how about Destiny?
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events so that they look to their leadership to turn down the temperature. The issue is right now, they don't feel like there's any fear.
Destiny said that he wants conservatives to fear death. Now, what does he mean by that? Now, that sounds like a threat to me. And David Pakman, no, he's just a Democrat shill. Ironically, this was proven by others from the left. Now, besides politicians, left-wing media, and left-wing commentators, here are some left-wing celebrities inciting violence.
Make a wish, Canada! Don't miss Trump next time.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
I'd like to punch him in the face. Punch some people in the face!
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
Look as his character is stabbed to death.
Where is John Wilkes Booth when you need him?
See, all of the incitement to violence is coming from the left. And it's aimed at Trump and his supporters. Now, what's going to happen when they keep doing this? They want crazy people to hear them and try to assassinate Trump. They flat out say this. They aren't even trying to hide this. And unfortunately, they got exactly what they wanted when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. First Amender, do you think those celebrities should go to jail for what you call stochastic terrorism or what I call incitement to violence? I do. I think all those politicians and celebrities should suffer legal consequences for incitement to violence. Now, whatever legal punishment that might be, fines, jail time, or whatever, an example must be made to discourage further incitement to violence. Now, what better way to do that than a public trial showing public figures like politicians or celebrities suffering legal consequences for their actions? First Amender claims that he doesn't want me dead.
What?
You cannot unite with people who want you dead.
Dude, I don't want you dead. Do you understand that? Democrats don't want you dead. Do you understand that? The idea that it is the left that wants you cannot negotiate with the left because they want you dead. You're doing the rhetoric that causes the violence. Do you understand?
Now, First Amender, you personally may not want me dead, but your side does. They want Trump and all of us dead. Now, again, they literally said this. And First Amender, how can you say that we are the ones that have rhetoric that causes violence when I've shown you the opposite is actually true? Again, you seem to be not living in reality. And now, if you want to stop what you call stochastic terrorism and what I call incitement to violence, then you must not only condemn it when it comes from your side, but you also must demand legal consequences for politicians like severely retarded Tim Walz, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden. Also for celebrities like Al Pacino, Snoop Dogg, and Kyle Gass. And for journalists like Rachel Maddow and commentators like Hasan Piker and Destiny. All need to be held legally accountable in order for examples to be made and for change to happen. And now I want to stress that I mean legal consequences. That's about it for this video. I'm Alpha Eagle. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. God bless you for watching. God bless America. And I pray that the First Amender comes back to reality and realizes that it's his side that is inciting all the violence.